There is a sneaky heavy ELB presence on this call. I like it.
A sneaky what?
There's a sneaky heavy ELB presence on the call already. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Making
morning, Greg.
waves.
Good morning,
Good
Laura.
morning, guys. How's it going?
Good morning, everybody. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can see the legislative report, transportation package?
Yep.
Thank you.
Good morning, Laura. I don't see Derek or John on the call. So if you see them show up, if you would let me know.
Will do.
They may not, but we'll go ahead and get started with the transportation segment. As we reported last week, there was a proposed committee bill that was filed Wednesday morning. It was heard on Thursday, passed, received a bill number. It's House Bill 5501. And it has already passed its, they gave it one committee once it became a bill, and it's already passed that committee. It passed 2 days ago on Wednesday, and has been added to the second reading calendar in the House, meaning it's on the floor. This is the Speaker's bill what he's after is, his idea, if anybody's watched the news or heard what's going on, his idea is to lower the sales tax in Florida from the state portion from 6% to 5.25%. The governor does not like that idea. The governor wants to give relief for property taxes, and those who haven't been, Laura, I don't know where that noise is coming from, but if we could.
I took care of it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so those two are already at odds anyway. Several things have been said. The governor was asked the other day if they were negotiating with the House, and he said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. So you can glean from that they're not getting along very well. So anyway, this is the Speaker's bill. It's not going to be stopped. The bad part in there for us is a sweep of the Transportation Trust Fund to the tune of $466.8 million, and over the 5-year work plan that becomes about $3 billion, and it impacts $11 billion worth of work. And so we met with JW and Sandy and Scott Perfader yesterday, and again this morning, and went over some strategies. And JW, you want to kind of fill everybody in on what you're all planning?
And Alan,
Sure.
John is on, just so you know.
Oh, hey, John.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you, Alan. So what the current position is, or strategy is, because we absolutely feel this is going to pass through the House, now that it's on the floor, because it is a Speaker's priority, what we're trying to do is basically just educate the House members, but as importantly, the Senate members, on what the fiscal impacts of this is. The way the FDOT funding works with the 5-year work program, the Rolling Horizon work program, as Alan said, a change now of 467 million, balloons to 3 billion over that 5-year window, and then that in turn impacts a total of $11 billion. Most of the members don't understand that process, so what we're trying to do is set up some meetings and calls with some key players in both the House and Senate, just make sure they understand that. Recognizing that originally we were going to come out and say this is a really bad idea, but we're kind of backing off of this that position enough to just assume they're smart people and that they understand the importance of the transportation work program to Florida, and then B, what that long-term impact would be. So we're kind of strategizing on that and coming up with some names and key contacts, and we'll be reaching out on that on the Transportation Committee side.
And
All right.
I did send an email to Alan and Derek. I think I copied Laura in, at least on my suggestions, House, Senate, of folks that would be worth hitting, touching base with. So.
All right. Thank you, John.
Right, and just so everybody knows, there is no companion bill in the Senate on this, but there doesn't need to be, because it will now become part of the budget negotiation process, which will start here and probably we're at the end of week 5, so we've got 4 more weeks to go. Could start here in week after next, maybe 2 weeks to go. I don't know, John, if you have any inside info on that or when they plan to begin. I mean, the process is already going on at the committee level, but
yeah, I mean,
we'll,
the way the budgeting works, the bottom line is they're $4 billion apart in spending, and so right, and so then they've got to resolve that first, and so they really can't in earnest start dealing with any of these things until they decide on what the number is that they're going to budget off of. So I'm guessing, hopefully, so we're going into week 6.
mhm.
So I'm assuming by week 7, 8 they'll start. Hopefully they'll start conferencing. But typically even when they're close, they sit and stare at each other for a week or two before they start getting these items resolved. So we've got time, and so I mean, my point is plenty of time to hit these members that we've identified.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that we talked about this morning on a call was, the Senate is really key here, because, this isn't their idea. They're not, they don't seem to be supporting it, and that's where we want to keep them. So, John, I'll get that list and get it out to JW and the others and figure out. Because I think what we're trying to figure out is, how to make the ask. And I'll just go ahead and ask you, since I got you on the phone, Derek, I've already talked to you about it. You mentioned a couple of times yesterday on the call, and I think this has come down from DOT too, to, basically it's phrased as, when you're talking to the members about something else. Well, this is what our people are going in to talk about. So is it more when we ask for the meeting, or whoever asks for the meeting just kind of frames it as we want to come by and talk about transportation issues and
Yeah.
bring this up? Or
Yeah, that's what I would do. Is I would put the requests in. If you're having difficulty, let us know, because we can sometimes reach out to the members that we know as well to say, hey, the engineers are put in a request, please, wave them in at your convenience. And then yes, the subject is transportation, and I think you just go right to the heart of it and say, it's longstanding position of our organization to support a healthy transportation trust fund. Just want to let you know there's a bill passing through that's going to really, we appreciate what the House is trying to do in terms of tax relief. I think that's great, but we hope you can find another way than what a potential $11 billion hit to the transportation projects of Florida. So it's a respectful message. You're not being critical. Just saying we appreciate what the speaker's trying to do and the House trying to do with tax relief for Floridians, but we hope you can find another way to fund some of it.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, for the others on the call, we're kind of running through this because it's moving fast, and we want to make sure we've got time to, especially to deal with the Senate, but also key House members, but do it in a way where we don't get crosswise with the speaker. That would not be a good thing. So anyway, if anybody has any questions on that, and ask them now, or we will move on. All right. The next one is the DOT package, which includes, having some computer trouble here. 1 second. Yeah, 1397 and 1397. That's the House version of the DOT bill. It has passed 2 of its 3 committees. It's now in the Commerce Committee, I would assume. I've heard a lot of these agency packages are dead, but the transportation will probably make the finish line. So it was heard again Tuesday, Transportation and Economic Development Budget Subcommittee. So it is moving, as is Senate side. 1662 by Senator Collins. It has passed one out of the three. Now it hasn't moved for a week, John. Are you aware of any problem with it, or just?
It's just
a,
it's just how it's just, you know, the ebb and flow of session, and are they ready to move these things out? I'm sure there's negotiations back and forth on it. So
sure.
Anyhow.
Yeah, and they've got time, because when do the subcommittees quit meeting? What, in week 7?
I think in the House next week is the a number of committees stop meeting in the Senate this week, but the appropriations committees will continue to go, and as well as in the House, the subcommittees have one more week, and they'll shut down. But some of the fiscal committee, the approps committees, they go into week 7, week 8 sometimes. So.
Right. Okay, so I mean, it's still looking pretty good for this bill. I did want to mention to everyone that on this report, there's a couple of things that have been added in the little list that comes after the explanation. The last one being an analysis, and so as the bills get to a committee, each committee will do an analysis of the bill. So if you want to look through any of these bills and not have to read the legalese, those are really good things. They tell you what the bill does, and you can get a lot of information from that. They're all linked there, so all you have to do is click on it if you're interested. And then we have Senate Bill 462. Geez, my computer just wants to jump to the end of just want to jump to the next page. 462, and what's the one after that, Laura? Well, I'm trying to. These are the FTBA bills.
Yeah.
567, Ellen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. All right, these are the FTBA bills. JW, I might lean on you for this one too. I know you and the crew have gone through this bill, and I don't think there's anything in it that we're opposed to. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's nothing that we were opposed to in either the DOT bills or the FTBA bills. One of the things just of note, both sets of bills, the FTBA and DOT, there's been some pretty dramatic amendments, striking a lot of the controversial language. One of the things that is out of the DOT bills was the increased oversight of the airports and seaports. That's been taken out of the DOT bills. What's been taken out of the FTBA bill is a lot of the restrictions on the third-party utilities and adding additional requirements for that. So that's come out of the FTBA bills. So they're a lot less controversial than they were when they were first introduced. So, but other than that, yeah, I expect that they're both going to keep moving.
Yeah. Well, in the Senate, the bill has passed 2 of its 3 committees. It's got one more to go before it goes to the floor. And in the House, it has passed 1 of the 3 committees. So a little bit of work left to do there, but not undoable. So that's good. I know we had looked at this one. We don't, I think, have a problem with it. Just wanted to keep it on here since it's moving. That's the utility relocation bill. It has passed 1 of 2 committees in the House and 2 of 3 in the Senate. So it's getting closer. If anybody's interested in that, again, the analysis is at the bottom. I had brought it up once before, and it didn't seem like there was a whole bunch there. So several of the bills that I had on previous reports I've taken off because they haven't moved at all, and it's pretty much very likely if a bill hasn't moved by this point, it's not going to go. So that involved, like, the limit on the plants that could be used and transportation concurrency and those types of things. So so that's it for transportation. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I think the FTBA bill had a provision in it about capping PD&E studies at 18 months. Is that still in it?
Carno, I think so. But I honestly, I haven't looked into that specific, but we can.
Yeah, because especially for like new corridors, 18 months is just not going to happen, just based on the timelines of getting everything out to public notice and holding your public hearings and stuff like that. It's just not a realistic time frame.
But I'll check on it and let you know.
Thank you.
I'll make a note of that as well, so we make sure if we need to, we get that taken care of. All right, Laura, if you switch over to the other report.
I have. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the first one here we've had on the report for a while now, Senate Bill 7002 and its House Companion 1169. We had concerns with some language that was in this bill, conserving or that the water management districts could. There was some language in there that included CCNA, and it talked about getting bonds and basically so they have a 10-year warranty, if you will. And speaking with our attorney, while we're still not in love with it, what it's really doing, it mentions CCNA in the language by saying, like, for contractors, design professionals, and others, and they're talking about the ones that aren't under CCNA. You would provide a bond or some similar financial instrument to get to the 10-year warranty. And then when it talks about CCNA, it's basically just saying that they can consider that when ranking, the folks, but it's not on price or, there's nothing that affects price. So in talking with CLGR yesterday, it was decided we would just take a neutral position on that bill, because there's other parts of that bill that our environmental folks really like. So as long as they're not getting into the, we got to discuss price stuff. Talking to our general counsel, one thing we were trying to avoid in talking about this is that, we currently have a 7-year statute of repose, and we didn't really want to highlight that and all of a sudden be staring at an amendment, moving it to 10-year statute of repose. But I think we're in good shape on that it really doesn't get into the price component of CCNA. It's just the, I know we don't typically deal in bonds, but your professional liability insurance would, probably just go for the 7-year the 7 years. After that, Kurt said, a warranty bond or something could be purchased for that 3 additional years, or it can be insured other ways. So, so having said that, we go to another area where we thought we had a problem with CCNA, 1264 and 1125. At first blush, it looked like they were exempting Space Florida from CCNA requirements. Actually, what they're doing, because there's a lot of, and John, I might ask for your help on this. You had these discussions, but basically what it is you get a company come in like SpaceX that has, that is paying for the project. There's no state money involved. There's no local government money involved. but they used Space Florida, say, as a conduit or a pass through. It would exempt those types of projects from CCNA, not anything that would have state local, government money, so to speak. And did I say that correct, John?
Yeah, we're still, they are a pass through for private companies coming to Florida. And there was one of their attorneys who just was concerned that they did not want to have that construed that they would come under CCNA if they bring their own project team to the state, et cetera. And it's only private dollars. So basically, we're still having just a couple lawyers look at it. I'm still not sure why they need it, but they think they do. But it's pretty clear it only applies to private funds, no government funds, and it applies to anyone who's not otherwise, under 287.055. So I think, I think that, it does not exempt SpaceX from CCNA when a public procurement needs to be done.
Okay. Just to go back, I'm sure you all can see in the chat that they're looking back at the FTBA bill. Arno, does that answer your question, and what's your thoughts on it?
It answers the question. They put in a qualifier to the maximum extent possible, but sometimes these studies, I don't think any PD&E study wants to drag out. It's always dragged out by coordination with various agencies, whether that be state or federal or sometimes even local. And sometimes it's just hard to get people to the table. So I'm not, I wouldn't argue with the qualifier because we were already doing that.
Right. Okay.
We got a question, somebody, Alan.
Yeah, so I've got some concerns with this, largely in the fact that one, it's outside of our control, but two, if it becomes a big issue where FTBA says things aren't moving fast enough, something needs to be done, this is the law, whatever. The way that PD&Es work is you have to have planning consistency to move it on to the next phase. So this can be problematic from putting a PD&E in that doesn't have the next phase of funding that they could target. Don't do these PD&Es, which is really against what we should be looking at. We should be looking at the future, creating opportunities, following long-term transportation plans. I think this could have ripple effects on how we look at the overall program in the future if this becomes an issue. And I think that needs to be tackled.
All right, Joe, I'll get with Dan Hurtado and whomever at the department and get a little bit more on this and let you guys know.
And JW, check back with me if we need to move on this to go see the sponsors. Just loop me in and we can start working it if need be.
Okay. I know there was one particular PD&E that FTBA just lit a fuse about. I think they're trying to legislate a cure for a one-off problem. They didn't want to hear that when I told them that, but anyway, we'll keep talking to them.
All right. Moving on. We got about 5 minutes. Most of these are going to go really fast. DBPR's bill, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like a lot of the agency packages aren't going to make it. Neither of the DBPR bills have moved. And so I would pretty much say they're dead. this is the bill that kind of rearranged all the professional, or most of the professional boards, not all. And so that one doesn't look like it's going to go. The next one is the Department of Management Services, and the title on the Senate bill is Executive Branch. That would end mainly the DBE, MBE, affirmative action type programs. That's not to say that's not going to happen. Similar language is in a bunch of bills out there. And I'm sure something along those lines will pass, but it's not going to come through this agency bill. Next two, construction liens and bonds. I'll probably be, oh no, it's actually moved in the Senate. So it has not moved in the House at all. In the Senate, it has passed 2 out of its 3 committees. And it's on the agenda for the 3rd next week. So moving well in the House, hasn't moved at all, or moving well in the Senate, hasn't moved at all in the House. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
Alan,
what
is the general
I'm
overview
sorry?
of that construction liens and bonds bill?
Mm-hmm.
What's the general intent of that?
Real quick.
If it's just reading it, I can read it myself. I just didn't know if you had a feel on what the builders were getting at with this.
Yeah, just need to remind myself here.
Okay.
Too many bills in my head.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, this is Melissa. Just want to give you a heads up. WGI, we still have an issue with 7002, but I'll get with you after the call.
Okay, sounds good. There was some concern that there's language in the bill that would make it harder, I guess you could say, for design professionals and contractors when it came to filing liens. I honestly see it. I've read through the analysis a couple of times, and it all sounds pretty innocuous, but we're watching it just in case. And so I'll go back and revisit it with Kurt and get his take on it.
Okay, thanks. And I saw Doug posted in the chat that it looks like it might strip lien rights for subs, including engineers and professional services. So
it literally does that.
Okay.
Alan, I gotta jump. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Okay, no problem.
I'm told there's Overdorf seems determined on this one. I'm told it's got a chance of being placed as an amendment somewhere else.
Okay. Well, not that can't happen, but there's a rule in place that if you have a bill that isn't heard by its first committee, then the language of that bill cannot be used as an amendment. Now, all they would have to do is get it through the first committee, say next week or something, and that rule would go away. But we'll go back and we'll have a conversation with Toby and make sure, because when I read the analysis, it didn't say that in there, and so I need to go back and revisit the bill and see exactly what it says.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you guys bringing this up. Like I said, it's
The Senate version is different, but the House bill is the one that's got the troubling language.
gotcha. Okay, I did add on, if I have anybody on this call that does the plan reviews and building inspections under the private provider law, there's a bill there that you may want to take a look at. First blush, nothing really stands out to me. It's a lot about notices and things like that. But if anybody wants to take a look at that, again, the bill, you click on the top part, analysis is down there and at the end of that section. And I'll be looking at that one. I actually chaired the task force back in the early 2000s that set that process up. So I know there's a bill out there too that guy I used to work with a lot, Richard Gentry, was the government affairs director with the home builders when I first got to town, and working with AGC, I worked with them guys a lot. He's now been elected to the House, so I think we'll see a number of things coming from him on this subject that will be beneficial, you know, to the engineers and architects that do that kind of work. But anyway, I see I've run over time. Does anybody have any further questions? Well, all right. Well, silly season gets even sillier as we move forward. So we'll talk about it again next week.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.